there is a double standard of like you can consume different types of sex work or different types of women's sexuality, but if you're the one outputting it and creating and making a living off of it, then you know, there should be a level of shame, and especially if you don't have that shame, you should especially be ashamed of yourself, you know?
1, 2, 3, 4.
This is Unplanned America, where you're invited to join Parv, Nick, and me, Gonzo, as we flee Australia to road trip around the land of the free in search of the weird, wonderful, mysterious, and sometimes scary, unplanned side of America. This week, we head to Portland, Oregon, the unlikely strip club capital of the USA, to get the lowdown on what it's like to work in this stigmatised industry, spending time with club owners, dancers, and those who work to help women that may be exploited by the business. With over 50 saucy establishments, Portland holds the title for most strip clubs per capita of any American city, beating out more fancied rivals such as Atlanta and Las Vegas to the title. While there was already a multitude of clubs in the city, a ruling in 2005 by the Oregon Supreme Court paved the way for more clubs than ever. It declared that nude dancing and live sex shows were permissible under their interpretation of free speech as defined in Oregon's constitution. This, combined with a liquor license going for the low price of $400, means it couldn't be easier to set up your own nudie bar.
We're heading to Casa Diablo, House of the Devil for my Spanish friends. Reliably informed it's the #1 strip club in all of Portland, and it's also vegan, whatever that may mean. We're about to find out. And here's Nick, ruining my link.
Tell us a little about the theme and how that came about.
Well, Casa Diablo is the world's first vegan strip club, which means all our food and drink is vegan, no animal products. Our dancers can only wear non-animal clothes, like no murder victims of any kind, no fur, no wool, no leather.
And why did you decide to open a vegan strip club?
I opened up a vegan family restaurant called Pirate's Tavern, pirate themed, pretty fun. All these blue-collar workers, mostly men, would come in and they look at our menu and they go, "There's no meat on the menu? We'll come back." And that happened every day, once or twice a day. And I finally got tired of it, and I said, you know what, screw it. Close it down, remodel, put in stage, throw up some tits. Boom, now people are coming in and going, man, this is the best food I've ever had.
I'm here with Dahlia. Don't know how to act sometimes with her.
Oh, it's okay. I have a lot of guys that are like, oh, you're getting thrown to the wolves. I'm like, I mean, really, in the nicest sense, we are the wolves, and you guys are very cute little bunny rabbits. I mean, you could be my bunny rabbit.
When you're dancing or doing a show and stuff like that, what's actually going through your head? Like, what do you think about?
You see all these people that really want to see you, and they're looking at you with these big doe eyes, you know, and it feels great. Everybody wants companionship and company, and I like to be able to provide that. Do you feel good?
I feel good.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
You feel good?
You don't feel like it's immoral or anything like that?
Oh, no, definitely not. No one puts you down for dancing here in Portland. I mean, it's, again, more morally accepted, and it's just an average job, I guess. It's almost like working at the bank here in Portland because there's so many dancers. With the 75-plus strip clubs, I mean, everybody knows a dancer, and it's not like, oh, strippers are dirty. We all know it's just an occupation. We all know that we're all doing it because we love to dance, or we're doing it because we have to.
When you're getting a lap dance or a dance from a girl, where should the guy be looking at? Because sometimes it's like locking at eyes, or maybe they feel like a creep.
Well, for me personally, I mean, I like to get to know the people that I give dances to. I like to know about their lives. You can feel creepy if you want, but also it's like a good experience with someone if you're lonely or if you don't have a girlfriend, and it's just like, it's a good place to come and be intimate and have a good discussion with somebody. We come across to people as like someone you can kind of open up to, because who are we to judge?
School yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I'm in PSU for business, and you know, business school is very expensive for me, and this is a really good job to be able to support myself when it comes to school and living expenses and all of that.
So have you ever had people from
college come in and see you here, and like, is that an awkward situation when that happens? Or?
A little bit. I mean, at first it's a little awkward, but a lot of people understand. Everyone knows that this is one of the best ways to get yourself through school, and they respect the fact that we're supporting ourselves and being independent. I mean, it's just kind of a thing to help you know, get through life until you're really set and started to really start a different career.
And just lastly, aren't you fucking freezing? Because I am like freezing my balls off.
I lost my job and I needed money to support my family. I was supporting my mom and my grandmother. I was still in high school at the time, so I just started dancing.
How come you're supporting your mum and your grandma? What's the deal there? Your mum doesn't work, or?
My mom lost her job when I was in middle school. My grandma's old, she doesn't work, so I mean, I started supporting my family at 16. I got a job and started working full-time with school. So I just started supporting them all, and then when I became 17, 18, like, my mom left. She just picked up and left and went to Montana. So I just support my grandmother now.
So what's it actually like running a strip club?
I am surrounded by the hottest naked women in the state. I've had over 3,000 girls audition for me, and they all have to get naked and rub up against me and have to squeeze their tits and butt, make sure that everything's working properly, and that's a pretty rough job.
Per capita, there is nowhere in America that has more strip clubs than Portland, Oregon. So we were in the Pacific Northwest to get an insight into working in this oft stigmatized industry.
So something we encountered at the strip club was we were given these $2 bill change, which turns out is legal tender, but they just don't make them anymore. And the only place that has them is the strip club, and everyone in Portland knows that. So every time I've pulled one of these out, I've just been shamed for being a pervert instantly.
So as our Portland strip club odyssey continues, we're going somewhere, I'd say, unique to the city. It's Devil's Point Strip Club for stripperoki. Great on you. Hey, now, forgive me, but you don't seem like the normal dude I'd expect to be running a strip club.
My business partner, Frank, we had worked together for several years doing graphic design, and he gave me the opportunity to come out here and run it, basically. And I was 26 years old and just had lots of friends who liked the party, and I was like, hey, I now own a strip club. Every Sunday, we do this thing called stripperoki, and it's basically, it's like normal karaoke, but we get the strippers involved too. So it's that hybrid mashup of both of them. Yeah, it works awesome. It's kind of a catalyst for people who don't normally go to strip clubs. It's an easy way to get them, maybe if they're a little too shy to come to strip clubs, they'll come here on, say, karaoke night, and they'll be like, oh, wow, all the girls are super cool, all the employees are super cool, and then they'll be, you know, more comfortable coming on a regular night. You'll see just as many girls as guys in there, and you'll also see, you know, people from 21 to like, you know, 50, 60 years old, everybody just having a good time. So it's a jolly environment.
The vibe inside Devil's Point was joyous, and it far more resembled a local neighbourhood bar than a seedy strip club filled with blokes in trench coats. We were seriously impressed by the athleticism of the dancers, particularly Hazel Grace, who we struck up a rapport with and arranged to meet up with the next day to get a deeper understanding of what it means to be a stripper. We headed through the leafy streets of Portland to a beautiful part of town to meet Hazel at her mother's gorgeous home, where her art adorned many of the walls.
Sit.
He doesn't know your accent.
Sit. Sit.
Well, I worked in restaurants all through college, and at a certain point, I just couldn't find a job. The economy was really bad. I was having a hard time, and I just kind of started thinking about sex work and the freedom that it provides to be able to do those kind of jobs, and found a strip club that said they were hiring and liked it just for the performance, and so I've been doing it for about 5 years now.
Is it a lucrative job?
You can show up to be a dancer for a night and you can earn everything from $0 to $1,000, at least in Portland. I mean, I've worked day shifts where I made $35 in 6 hours, you know, $5 an hour, and I've worked shifts where I've made my rent ×2 in a night. So it varies a lot, it's not consistent, but for me, it's worth the money and the effort for sure.
The first time you did sort of dance or strip, how was that experience?
I was really nervous. I mean, it was definitely not something that most people experience in their general life is like being naked in a bar setting is like pretty strange. I really wanted to like it, and so I showed up with this really like, this is gonna be a good job for me attitude, but it was a lot of just observing how the other dancers who were more experienced worked and kind of learning off each other and building my confidence over time.
Did you tell your family about it? Were they aware of you were going down this path?
Yeah, I definitely didn't tell them at first. I don't think most dancers do, especially not at first. But yeah, that is a big problem for strippers, is the stigma that comes with doing that job, or any sex work, is, you know, how your family or your friends or just the community will treat you. And fortunately, Portland's a lot more accepting in terms of that, but there's still stigma attached to anyone who's like owning their sexuality and making money off of it.
We took a break from the interview to go inside for some good old American pie, where Hazel's sister shed some light on the impact of having a family member working in a somewhat taboo industry.
You didn't admit it. I think I caught you. I was like, why do you have so many fake eyelashes in your house all the time? I tried to just listen and just hear it all out, like non-judgmentally. And
You were a little judgy at first.
Yeah, totally. At first, it was surprising and sort of hard just as a family member to like know about that. And then through a lot of thinking about it and talking with her about it, I've come a lot to terms with it, and like I think it's awesome. I've seen her change as a person a lot, and so that I think is one of the biggest things. I've seen her become a lot more social. Your ability to like talk to people and relate to people has definitely improved, and it's cool to see you empowered in that way.
You saw her dance for the first time
2 weeks ago.
2
Yeah,
weeks ago.
2 weeks ago.
Okay.
From the first time we talked about it, you were like, yeah, you could come in and see me, and I was like, never. Like, I will never do that. Honestly, it was awesome. No offense to the other girls, but I was like, she's the best one here. Like, I'm so proud of her. You know, I think that there's a lot of stigma around sex work, and that's kind of bullshit.
There is a double standard of like, you can consume different types of sex work or different types of women's sexuality, but if you're the one outputting it and creating and making a living off of it, then, you know, there should be a level of shame, and especially if you don't have that shame, you should especially be ashamed of yourself, you know.
People might develop too close an attachment to you. Does that ever happen? Is that something that's a bit of a...
There is this weird relationship of like, we're gonna be really intimate, but we barely know each other, and you're paying me for the transaction, and we're treating each other like we're kind of like really close. And so some people get confused by that. The lap dance part especially is a fantasy. It's based on a fantasy of we're intimate, we're close, we like each other. A lot of people have a hard time with it who don't generally go to strip clubs or get dances, because it's a hard thing to separate that like, this is fantasy, this is transaction, kind of weird line that is created pretty much just in strip clubs.
Developing other personal relationships outside of this and maybe finding a partner, has it been an issue, trying to find something that's accepting of what you do?
It seems actually more common that a boyfriend or a guy that they're dating will act okay with it at first and then have a problem with it later on as they kind of think about it more, or as they kind of get more possessive as the relationship continues. The guy I'm seeing now was definitely kind of thrown off by it and uncomfortable at first because he'd never really dealt with that before. But he's really kind of gotten more understanding of it.
There might be a finite amount of time that you can do this work. Maybe there isn't. Maybe you can keep doing it forever, but do you have plans? What's your sort of plans for the future?
I definitely want to pursue something in the arts, since that's my major and I love making art and drawing and things like that. So I'm looking into options in terms of like getting into the tattoo industry or things like that. But I kind of want to take advantage of the fact that I can do this job for now, because it's been such a good system for me.
Hazel struck us as an incredibly well-adjusted woman who was emotionally and financially empowered through her work. We had been exploring strip club culture in Portland, Oregon, and for the most part had been told of the positive aspects of working in this industry from dancers and club owners alike. But as we're about to learn, there are always two sides to every story.
So we're on our way to Magic Garden. It's closing down soon, which is sad because it's actually one of the oldest strip clubs in Portland.
Presided over by local legend Paddy Wright for more than 20 years, Magic Gardens was set to close its doors forever on December 31st. We sat down with Paddy to get her take on the current state of Portland's strip club scene.
So my idea was, make it a neighborhood bar that happens to have naked ladies on the stage, and hire girls that are going to school, have a purpose. In 20 years, I'm proud to say we have several girls dance their way through law school. There's a genuine bona fide doctor.
So what about the morality behind watching a naked girl on stage?
This strip club, I see no problem with. It's entertainment. If a strip club is run correctly the way this club is run. There are certain clubs that like to hire 18-year-old girls that have them do naughty things.
So tell us about that naughtiness you're talking about. What does that actually mean?
Doing sex acts that used to be reserved for genuine bona fide prostitutes. And your girls that aren't dancing really nasty don't make the money that the girl that's dancing really nasty do, so this girl's got to do more and more and more. 10 years ago, girls had to be performers to make money. You had to have a unique performance style. But there's so many strip clubs now, they had to get naughtier and naughtier and naughtier. In the last 10 years, it's taken a real dive. Everybody thinks you're going to make buku bucks out of a strip club. You get 15, 20 dancers, charge stage fees. They think you're going to get rich. You're not. There's a strip club on every corner. They take advantage of these young girls.
Coming from Australia, a lot of people would think that it's always nasty. You know, like strip clubs are inherently nasty. What do you think about that?
That was my opinion when I came here, but it's not true. It's how the place is run.
After speaking to Patty, we sought to find out more about the challenges and issues dancers faced. We headed to the nearby town of Salem to speak to a member of a Christian organisation, Strip Church, which specifically assists women working in the sex industry.
We'll do little bags like this with a lipstick in it and stuff that they might use, or a snack, something like that. You know, a gift that I wouldn't be ashamed to give my girlfriend at Christmas.
Can you just tell us a little bit about what you guys do? It's kind of quite a provocative name.
Strip Church.
Together.
Yeah. Well, this is not done in an effort to save anybody or bring anybody to Jesus or do any of that. In fact, I'm pretty staunchly against doing that. What we are called to do is to go into the strip clubs and just help provide resources and things for people who work in the sex industry.
Just wanted to know what your personal opinion was about sort of the strip club industry.
Portland has so many strip clubs because they have very, very liberal laws on what you can and can't do, and there's not a whole lot of can't do's. For example, in my personal opinion, a lot of the clubs are set up to create economic slavery for women. People think that dancers make hand over fist. And it's really great if they don't have an addiction to feed. And it's great if they don't have a pimp who's trafficking them and taking their money. And then they have to pay out the bouncers, the house. Some of them even have to pay to quit their job or to call in sick.
We haven't found a lot of people, at least in Portland, that seem to have too much of a problem with the strip club culture of the city.
You know, the thing is that when people are actively in the industry, most don't say to the public, or, you know, they're not outspoken that they don't like it. I mean, you can't do that. I can't have a job at Costco and then go on TV or something, or my Facebook and say, I hate this job and I hate my boss. And, do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. You know, there's a very high percentage of harassment that happens. And I think what alarms me the most is that I did a research paper on this a few years ago, but women who go into working into strip clubs have a very, very high percentage of PTSD or dissociative disorders, which is like multiple personalities type thing, right? And they go into an environment that's going to continue that, that's going to breed that. I mean, I've heard of women getting raped at clubs personally. These are personal experiences. Raped at clubs. One woman got her nipple almost bit off by a client. They get groped, they get constantly, you know, told that they need to, you know, they need bigger breasts, they need smaller breasts, they need this, they need that, you know, the constant criticism. The highest rate of PTSD as soldiers coming back from battle, women in strip clubs have. While this isn't the case for every woman, I have found it to be, and research shows that it's the case for many.
What is your ultimate goal with the kind of work that you're doing?
I would love to see them more regulated. I would love to see these workers understand and know their rights and not have this kind of economic slavery where they're, you know, paying to do things to have a job that the rest of us as independent contractors, I don't have to do that as an independent contractor. I don't know that it's a safe place for women to work. I think that we could do better with the laws to make it safer.
Yeah, it makes sense to me that you shouldn't have to pay to do a job and it should be a more just labour force. Is it possible, though, then that a bunch of clubs might shut down, it might change, is there a chance that it would change the fabric of Portland if suddenly there was 2 strip clubs left standing?
That's kind of sad to think that, isn't it? That if we did things justly, that it could actually shut down a lot of businesses to actually treat people as human beings.
Cynthia had shed some rather sobering light on the Portland strip club industry, and since we had visited, 2 dancers were even suing Casa Diablo for lost wages and harassment. But we'd also witnessed firsthand the positive side of this profession, giving some dancers financial security in tough economic times, as well as an outlet for creative expression, and not to mention providing light-hearted titillation for punters who approach the scene in the right spirit. It is certainly a complex industry to work in, which throws up its unique mix of moral issues. At the end of the day, the well-being of the dancers and the industry as a whole can come down to the simple matter of respect, from patrons and club owners alike, who should be striving to do the best to make it a safe and financially fair work environment for everyone to enjoy.
I apologise for this song choice, everybody, and I apologise for my singing.
Pirate theme, pretty fun.